the moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
All right.
Do we need a break, or do you want to just soldier through?
I think we can
half
go.
An hour?
I'm good.
All right, so we're back with another mini episode. We have a new
Chapter
Mandalorian.
11.
Chapter 11.
Or episode 3, season 2.
Season 2.
The Heiress. The Heiress. The Heiress.
Heiress.
The Heiress. The Heiress.
Now,
Oh, boy.
I think we can all conclusively say that they have started
Ramping
moving
up.
along with the story. With this
I
episode.
wholeheartedly, even though it does kind of go into yet another caper of the week, we do get
But at least
little bit more.
we have an idea of where the season might be going,
Yes.
and with some important reveals in terms of characters that could play very largely into the episodes coming up.
Oh, that bodes well for my comic collection. I think my Clone Wars #1 just went up a couple $100.
So, Jeff, do you want to go over the basics of the plot?
We're talking Mandalorian. Anybody who doesn't understand it, this is a standalone Mandalorian. This is chapter 11, and it is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. This is her second. She directed an episode last season as well. And we pretty much pick up right where we left off last week, which was the Razor Crest stumbling its way to Trask.
Stumbling, bumbling, hobbling.
Oh, it's spitting fumes. We are trying to get Frog Lady and her eggs to her husband so that they can be properly fertilized. How he did that, we're going to leave that to the imagination.
Yes.
But
And equally as important, Mando wants to get information from the husband as to where
yes,
he
because
can find.
apparently he has seen a Mandalorian. We are on the hunt for Mandalorians. We need to know what to do with this stupid kid. And we got this great opening sequence of the Razor Crest, careening into the atmosphere. And it ends in a pratfall, basically, because he lands on the platform and then it just tips over and goes into the water.
Now, Christina, as you were saying, there can be no temperate climates here. It's got to be an extreme. So now we have an ocean planet.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I kept waiting for Kevin Costner to show up, but he did not. But these are there's Mon Calamari, and there were the squid head people, which are Quarren, I think is what their actual race is. And once again, he just leaves the damn ship on the dock and he's like, fix this.
And he's upset when the guy says,
right.
And the thing is falling apart behind him. How can you
And now
fix
it's all
this?
waterlogged.
Yeah.
Is that engine even going to start? So yeah, but the Frog Lady is reunited with her husband. And somehow all of a sudden Mando can communicate with them because he's asking questions.
I think they can understand him, but he can't understand them.
Okay, that makes sense because you're right, because she was forced to activate the droid last week in order to communicate.
In order to talk to him.
So she does understand what
Yes.
he is saying. He does not. Yeah, but
The
remember
Star
last
Wars
week?
universe needs a Babelfish.
Right?
But the husband does keep his word. He does tell Mando where he can go to learn about these other Mandalorians
Yes.
that he's been chasing after.
So yeah, but we do get a little, respite, and we get to go and get some food. And remember last week you were decrying the fact that we didn't get a face hugger, but we got one this week. It came right out of Baby Yoda soup. And he goes,
Baby
"Don't
Yoda.
play with your food. Don't play with your food."
Yeah.
This thing is attaching itself to his face.
Now Mando, the very next sequence is he hooks up with this group of ne'er-do-wells who say that they can bring him to the Mandalorians. Now, he is either too trusting, he is unprepared, He's not trusting, but yet he's still unprepared for what they're about to do. So,
Yeah, I seriously have to question this guy, his skill set, because he just continually falls into these stupid situations.
It's really ridiculous because he's been double crossed like every week.
Every week. That's what I'm saying. It's like, dude, give up the armor.
So Jeff,
Pick up a plow.
what's the name of these aliens with the octopus faces?
They are Quarren, and they are jerks.
So
apparently they are the idiots, and they are just the dumb pirates of the universe.
So the frog guy tells Mando that he has to go with these Quarren, that these are the people that can lead him to the Mandalorians. And so he has to get on a ship, a fishing vessel with these Quarren. And the viewer, again, knows from the get-go that these guys are trouble.
Yeah.
And so, you want to see this monster? You want to see him in feeding time? Here, stand a little closer. Here, get the baby a little closer, and then we'll see what happens.
So it's a mama core, but why would you have that on your ship if you're a fishing vessel, and your whole point is to fish and put the fish in the cargo hold so you can bring it back and actually make some money? Why would you put this giant monster in your ship? It doesn't make any sense.
To kill people.
Just to kill people. So once again, Baby Yoda is kicked into the maw. It gobbles him up. The little, his
crib,
his car seat. Yeah,
his car seat. Of course, Mando immediately jumps in to try and save him. They close the gate. Now his Beskar armor. I can't imagine that stuff is very.
And that's what everybody wants is the Beskar. Yeah. Everybody double crosses him for that armor. That's the purpose. Armor. Yeah.
Yep. So he's not looking too well, and all of a sudden we get some heroes jumping on board, kicking some butt
in a very similar Beskar outfit to Mando's, but they're more blue tinged than his silver, his gunmetal silver.
Yep. So they come and they basically they kick some butt, and they free him, and then we're introduced to.
And what did they do immediately after they free him? They take off their helmets, which we know that Mando is not down with at all.
But so then we discover why, and
I think this is brilliant.
Now this is it is.
Yeah. And this is great because so the main person in this group that saved him is Bo-Katan, who's from, if you've watched the cartoons, she's got a character that has a ton of history behind her.
There is a lot of history with this character. We'll get into it maybe a little bit on the back end. But these are characters we've been introduced to before in Rebels and
right. And Mando sort of steps back like, oh, you're not a real Mandalorian. Yep. And she's like, I am a real Mandalorian.
Not only am I a real Mandalorian, I am pretty much the ruler.
And I love the little whisper. Oh, he's one of those.
Yeah. I know. This is a rude awakening for this guy.
That he is a child of the Watch, which is apparently like an extremist cult that gathered up foundlings and sort of converted them into like an extreme religious version of Mandalore.
So he's a religious nut. Other Mandalorians see him as insane.
Because he doesn't take off his helmet. And it explains so much because, again, if you do watch Clone Wars and you watch Rebels, they take their helmet off all the time. So this explains it. And I almost wonder if they retroed this just so to placate Pascal so he doesn't have to have the helmet on. Maybe he gets a little more face time. Maybe we actually see this guy for more than 3 seconds at the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be hard for him to undo... because he was taken as a child, so he was raised.
He's indoctrinated. But you see immediately that, I mean, this is a lot to process. This is like, you're raised holy roller, Hare Krishnas or something, and then one day someone says, "Yeah, you guys are like far left extremists. We don't believe in that at all," and you're like, "What? Wait, what?" It makes you question everything. And
we haven't mentioned who is playing Bo-Katan
is
Katie Sackhoff.
Who plays the voice, and the character was designed to look like her to begin with. So when she takes her helmet off, that is Bo-Katan, man. She is red, short, bobbed hair. She's got the metal hair tie, I guess, if you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it. Headgear. And she's badass. And the other two are Axe Woves and Casca Reeves, who was actually played by WWE's Sasha Banks. If anybody
I didn't pick that up.
watches
I did not
wrestling.
pick that up.
Her credit name is Mercedes Vernado, which I guess is her given name. But her WWE moniker is Sasha Banks. So I guess it makes complete sense now that they are in fact Mandalorian.
Bo-Katan is saying that she is the true ruler of Mandalore.
Yep.
And in a very nice speech, they explained how the Empire divided them, divided the populace into these religious nuts and then the other faction of Mandalorians, and how they're stronger united, which I think is a very timely message to hear.
Yes, because her sister, Satine, is the ruler of Mandalore, or she was, but she was a pacifist, where this group, this Death Watch that Bo-Katan is a part of, is looking for a little more violent means to take back.
And to that purpose, the rest of the episode is them trying to get weapons off of an Imperial freighter that's leaving the planet.
So you get the rescue on the ship. She gives her speech, and then he departs and immediately is confronted by the other squid head who now wants to kill him because he killed his brother.
Right.
And they have to save him again.
Right.
The squid was like, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my brother, prepare to die. And yeah, they had to come and save him. And it's like,
and then she says, look, I'll help you out and I'll send you in the direction of the Jedi.
Yep,
but you got to help me first.
In exchange for a favor, here we go again.
Right. And it turns out she's kind of interested in the cargo, but that's not really what she's after on this ship. She's after some other information about the Darksaber.
And we get a man in black from Lost. Titus, what's his name? Titus
Welliver. So
Welliver.
actually, I was excited to see him because he was on Deadwood.
Oh, okay. There you go.
and it turns out this is actually the third Deadwood connection, because I didn't even realize in the first episode of this season that the bartender in the town where Cobb Vanth is actually W. Earl Brown, who was Dan Doherty on Deadwood. And
they're just pillaging that show, huh?
So I'm just waiting for all the rest of the characters from Deadwood to show up on
Nice. They all just migrated to the galaxy far, far away.
So it's nice that we get some stuff moving towards like the overriding story now, but it's very frustrating that we couldn't just, first of all, just jump to this from episode 1. We could have gone right here. Okay. Yeah. And the other slightly frustrating thing is that like the non-lore episodes have been really long. And this one is like the shortest one.
That is funny. That is interesting.
I just thought it was because it was so good. I wasn't looking at the time that it was over so quickly.
I didn't pay attention to time. But this whole scene where they're taking over the ship, they play up the fact that once again a stormtrooper can't hit the broadside of a barn. Mm-hmm. It's like, how did this empire get to where they are if these guys?
But if you think about it, these guys are, they're no longer the dominant power in the universe. So are these like civilians that are loyalists?
That's a good point, because this is after the fall of the empire. This is after the Death Star. You think some of those guys would be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going.
And they're operating independently. These freighters and everything else that we're seeing, they're not the ruling class of the universe.
No, but it's a great sequence. It's full of action, and there's a point where they need to get to the into the I want to say the cockpit, but in the control center.
And the commander or the captain locks them into a room. Because
we got him in a cargo hold.
Basically, this far away from screaming and crying until he tells everybody to shut the doors, and then they're locked in. Oh, we've got them locked in. Where did you lock them in?
Right. Yeah.
All the guns.
You idiot! You captured your stunt doubles. But the sequence where Mando is storming down the hallway, and he's just, now you know why people want that Beskar armor. Yeah. Because he is getting shot point blank range, and he's able to take the brunt of it, and take the ship out. And I love the Gideon, the captain wants to like abandon ship, and he's like, long live the Empire. Mm-hmm. He's like, crap, we're gonna die. Yeah. So ship goes down. Right.
And then we get this thing where Bo-Katan does not get the information that she wants, because she wants to know where Gideon is. Yeah. Right. Because he takes like the Empire equivalent of a cyanide pill.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Those are still floating around apparently.
But she does keep her word and tell Mando that he can find Ahsoka Tano.
just hearing that name on this show is, we knew it was coming, right? This is the thing I hate. You know, last year before this show dropped, like the reveal of the child was like amazing because they held it under wraps. And then this year, like every little cameo, every little possible person that may or may not show up was already leaked.
And you're just waiting for them to appear rather than let yourself be surprised by their appearance. Yeah.
Yes. So it's you're waiting for it. But so off we go. It's a forest planet.
Yeah.
So maybe there'll be some
and what did they call it? Cordis? The forest planet of
Corvus?
Corvus?
The city of Caledon on the forest planet of Corvus.
Because it turns out that Mando needs to find the Jedi, and that's where he needs to bring the child, per Bo-Katan.
And you have to figure Ahsoka does have a relationship with Yoda, or did. So maybe she knows a little bit more about the species. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's funny. I'm thinking about this now. You know, people are all up in arms about him eating the egg last week. And now it makes perfect sense that Yoda went to that Dagobah. That's like a buffet for him.
That is.
Right? Like those animals must be like buffet. Living in fear. This dude's like, what am I going to eat today? It looks like a frog. Bring on the flying snakes.
By the way, I just want to mention it's very convenient that no matter what planet Mando goes to, there always seems to be a babysitter available. Yes, this guy has better childcare options than most human beings
people
do.
In the States.
But for all those detractors, please notice that once those little frog babies are born, Baby Yoda does not want to eat them anymore. He just wants to play.
They were
with
unfertilized before, so they were edible. Yeah.
So, and Mando did tell him to mind his manners.
Mind his manners.
So that's like, right. He has nowhere else to go. All right, I'm going to put you with these two people.
It's almost like he has to whisper. He looks at the frog people. You know what I mean.
Right. Ixnay on the egg say. You think she would have counted them, right?
Yes, as we brought up last week. Don't you know how many eggs you've got in there?
Right. The last of my species. Wait a minute, what happened?
Now, I just want to point out that you always see still frames of artwork during the closing credits.
Yeah, the conceptual art by Doug Chang.
And in this episode, you get an adorable shot of Baby Yoda's feet coming out from under his tunic. Mm-hmm. And I just wish some of the merchandise does employ those feet, because that is a missed opportunity. They do not.
A little three-toed.
So yeah,
it was a good episode. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yes. Yeah. This is what we were waiting for at the beginning of the ongoing.
Let's see, as long as we end up on that forest planet next week and not
not two aside episodes before we get there.
Let's go back to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Frequent flyer miles this guy must get.
Back to Tatooine so we could find out if it's really Boba Fett.
Right, yeah.
But not really.
Not really.
Just show him for like 2.5 seconds.
There you go.
All right, Jeff, so tell everybody about Bo-Katan.
She's got a long history here. She was a lieutenant in the Death Watch, and she was leader of this group called the Night Owls. Stay with me here if I stray, because it's been a while since I've really watched these shows. But her sister was the ruler of Mandalore during the Clone Wars, but she was a pacifist. And Death Watch, they wanted to bring back more martial ways. They wanted to bring back the warrior. And at one point, they teamed up with Darth Maul and the Shadow Collective, and is it Pre-Vizsla,
yeah. And then Darth,
and then they're going to overthrow her sister.
Right.
There's this whole story arc, and then Darth Maul betrays them all and takes over. And at some point, Bo-Katan even realizes that this was a mistake, and then she liberates her sister with Obi-Wan during the Clone Wars. The Republic comes in, they kick Maul off the Mandalore, and then she takes over as regent.
But Maul kills her sister.
Yes. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Spoiler alert. But then this is all before like the Republic really kind of morphs into the Empire. Like they refuse to recognize the Emperor's authority, I guess, if that's what you want to say. She ends up, are they exiled?
So there's like a Clone Wars storyline, and then there's a Rebels storyline. So when you get into Rebels, then she's found by Sabine Wren.
Right.
Who has the Darksaber.
Yep.
They think that Bo-Katan is worthy of the Darksaber, and kind of the last we knew of, she had it. So what happened? How did Gideon end up with it?
Right, correct. Kind of because she was kind of, they made her the leader, right?
So, but
and then
obviously,
somewhere in between, the Great Purge happens, where the Empire wipes out a lot of the Mandalorians. So there is, I mean,
there's gaps,
there's holes, and the big question is, how did Gideon get a hold of the Darksaber?
Right.
So
there's gaps between like the Clone Wars storyline and the Rebel storyline, and there's gaps between the Rebel storyline and this. So hopefully we'll get some of that information.
It might just be like 40 minutes of Ahsoka sitting down and telling us everything.
Well,
she's just a plot device.
I mean, Ahsoka's already had a whole big story, which
I know, and you also have to wonder, like the last time we saw Ahsoka, which was just last season of Clone Wars, like she was off looking for Ezra, right? Isn't that how that ended?
At the end of Rebels,
and that was
so.
We're timeline wise, that's the very end of the Clone Wars, so you've got quite a few years in between of where she's been or may have.
I mean, will Ezra show up on this show?
Oh, man, you give me a chopper, you give me a friggin' chopper on this show, and I will lose my mind. And Zeb,
I mean, there's a lot. I think if you don't know about all this stuff, you probably still can follow along what's happening on the show. But
yes,
if you want to know like all this kind of background, then you should go back and watch the Clone Wars and Rebels, which are available.
That's a huge undertaking. That's 7 seasons, 20 plus episodes a season.
Well, you do have a year between Mandalorian seasons, so maybe give it to the end of this season.
That is true.
And then to whet your appetite for next time, watch through this stuff. I think that's what I'm going to do because I am not familiar.
Clone Wars is early on, it's tough to get into. Rebels, on the other hand, I absolutely adored from day one.
Clone Wars grows into itself, sort of like Ahsoka grows into.
Yeah, because when you first meet her, she's a little spitfire, a little.
She's annoying.
Yeah, well, she's a child.
Right, she's an annoying little teenager, and you're like,
who's been saddled with Anakin as her master. So it's a lot. It's a lot. They're, like you said,
it's nice that they're going this way.
I agree. It just, I mean, Filoni has really laid the groundwork with all this stuff with the Clone Wars and Rebels. And again, you can watch these on their own and enjoy them for what they are. Oh, cool, we got other Mandalorians. Oh, look, it's Starbuck in a helmet. But once you start scratching the surface and you realize all this other stuff that's going on, I mean, it's crazy. And this is all canon now. This is all. I mean, Clone Wars and Rebels are considered canon. But to see these characters come to life and to see Ahsoka next week, maybe, possibly, is going to be pretty impressive.
I know. I really hope there's not a week in between.
I know,
It's going to be really annoying.
I know the Razor Crest is not looking that great. It might have to
it'll just magically be fixed just at the beginning of the episode.
Right. I mean, the guy
just so we can crash it in the forest next week.
The guy who fixed it, looks like he used spare parts, from everything.
That's the way it should look like. I mean,
it's tied together with string on the inside of the cabin.
You guys are not Star Trek fans, but that was my big gripe about Voyager. Was that here's a spaceship that's trashed halfway across the universe, and every week they're getting beat up, and yet they're able to find parts to fix it. I mean, this thing should look like it's I can't take my car over to Europe and find a proper part for it. So that was my always gripe. So yeah, it should look like crap.
And it ends up with fish netting inside and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Duct tape. I wonder if they have duct tape in the Star Wars universe.
So I think final word is that they're pretty much back on track. As long as they keep going this way.
Yeah. And I thought it was very well directed. I liked a lot of stuff that was, I mean, no crazy camera angles or anything like that. It suited its purpose.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And they're keeping these next episodes, like the descriptions, close to their vest, and we don't even know until the episode drops who's directing it, what the title is.
I think that next week is Carl Weathers' episode.
Is it?
Oh, okay.
I think I did read that. I did see a little thing. Bryce Dallas Howard had a little homage to her father's movie, Apollo 13. In the specific way that the Razor Crest does the re-entry and crashes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's supposed to be just like, with the flame coming off of the ship and even the angle of the ship and the way it looks streaking through the sky. And someone online, like who's a huge fan of Apollo 13, actually matched the scenes together so you could see. And she confirmed on Twitter, "Yep, you got it." It was a little homage to my dad's movie.
I like stuff like that.
So
now they need to team up and make a Solo 2.
Yeah.
Okay, kids, that was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. A lot to take in.
You mean this episode or
this episode? Both. Phenomenal.
It's nice not to feel angry.
Yeah.
No, don't give in to anger. Yes,
all right,
indeed.
so next
there
week,
you go. So next
chapter
week,
12.
Chapter 12 and some Godzilla fun.
Yeah. Are they taking a week off for Thanksgiving or no? They're barreling through.
I think they're barreling through. I don't think that they took a week.
All right.
I guess we'll find out.
Then we'll be back then.
All right. Sounds like a plan. See ya. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIConfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you. Da-da-da, 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 Deadwood.